Hi everyone, it's Andy from Hobby Headquarters. Well, what I thought today we would do is we're going to start a whole new series of videos where we're not necessarily building the model kits, but more of the weathering techniques. And this very first video is all going to be on chipping, scratching, rusting, and streaking, all in one. And I've taken a model kit that we've already built up, repainted it just to a bare neutral color, and then we're going to go ahead and beat the heck out of it, so to speak, in there. So it'll be a good opportunity, since we've got all these new products that I've been getting in here, to show you guys. That's one of the biggest questions I get in the store, is how to use all these products. Well, this will be a quick demonstration of how to use like streaking and chipping and things like that, all while having a great fun time at it as well. So it's a lot of fun. It's actually my favorite part of the build, is painting and weathering, and with this type of easy techniques, you'll be able to knock it out of the park. So let's get started. And here we have our really large blank canvas to do some experimenting on, and doing some chipping and some rusting and some streaks, things like that. This is the Tacom mouse kit that we built a few years ago, and I've gone ahead and just painted the entire thing dark yellow, right over all the old camouflage and all the other things that were on it. Painted it dark yellow, clear coated it, put the decals on, some decals I found in an old box, so just anything that's going to represent the decals that would probably be on a vehicle like this. We clear coated them again, so now we have, like I said, a really large canvas to start chipping on. So the entire vehicle has been painted with XF60 dark yellow from Tamiya, and now what we want to do is we want to put our first layer of chips on. But these are the I should say scratches. These are the scratches that went into the paint that don't go all the way through the paint, but they're going to discolor the paint in such a way that it's going to have some different effects and tones on it. And we're going to do that a couple of different ways. We're going to just take a little bit of our foam sponge here and just tear off some pieces of it and get kind of a rough edge on it. Nothing too spectacular on that. And now we're going to use a lighter form of dark yellow on here to create those scratches and effects on things that, like I said, didn't go all the way through. Those will be the next step that we'll do it on it. So for this, I'm going to use a little late war dark yellow from Mission Model Paint, and we're going to dip a little bit in our sponge and just getting a little bit on the sponge, and then blotting quite a bit of it out on a paper towel, and just start hitting some of these areas here to start to create the scratches. And this will dry a little bit lighter. It's going to be a little stark immediately, but we're going to start to go over it, and then we can even create some in the middle here, scratches, and just going anywhere that there would be, you know, wear and tear on a vehicle. Create some in the middle, and just anywhere like that, because we're going to really beat it up quite a bit here. That's another thing I should point out too. This video is going to probably be maybe even overdone, we'll call it, on the weathering, but this is, like I said, was just trying to teach you guys the different effects. How much you put on or how little you put on is completely up to you, but this way you have the technique and you can put on as little or as much as you want. But this will give you an idea how we're going to start to do the scratches. So what I will do now is, now that you've got an idea what I'm talking about, I will go ahead and finish that up. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a modeling, and that's M-O-T-T, mask. And this one right here is from Masterpiece Models. And I'm going to take my airbrush and lightly mist on a coat of lighter dark yellow, and to get it kind of blend in. So we're going to have some discolorations and some streaks on there. And what I've done is I've already gone ahead and started weathering this side of the vehicle, doing the same thing. And hopefully you can see the light little marks of discoloration that we started getting. Also started doing a little bit of chipping, testing out the color that we just mixed up, but that'll give you an idea. So I'm going to go into the paint table and just mist on a little bit of that onto the new clean side that we're working on, and then we'll come back and show you what the next step is. First thing I'm going to show you guys is how to make what I feel is a really good chipping color. And we make it up pretty easily, making sure our paints are all thinned and mixed up really well. We are going to use primarily a lot of XF68 NATO Brown. And NATO Brown is going to act as the base of this. And it's approximately 75% of the paint will be NATO Brown. So we're just going to kind of eyeball this here. And I like to make a big bottle of it because I'm going to use it for chipping for quite a while. So we've got a clean Tamiya bottle here that we've cleaned out some old paint. And we're going to put three decent sized squirts inside of that. Then we're going to go over into here. Now these are older paints too, so I don't mind if a little bit of it gets mixed up in there. A little bit of black is going to get put in there. That is about 20%. Just a couple more drops in that. And a couple of drops of red. And then we can go ahead and just shake this up really well, and we will have what I feel is a really good chipping color. Okay, now that we've let that fully dry, we are taking the chipping color that you guys just watched me put together and a really fine brush. And we're going to first put our first batch of chips on it here. And this brush is fairly firm, but does have a little bit of give to it. You don't want it like a toothpick type thing, because then it won't actually let the paint flow very well. But conversely, you don't want it super soft either, where it's just going to be going all over the place. And then just start doing random little chip marks into it on top of the lighter color first. You can see, especially in these bigger areas like this. And then part of it can go outside of that area, making scratches going in different directions. Some longer scratches. And hopefully you can see too how that dark yellow, the lighter version of it, started to dry a little bit lighter than it was when we first put it on. And like I was telling you earlier, we're going to overdo it a little bit on this because we want it to really show off the different techniques, what we can do with chipping and weathering, but you get a general idea. And obviously the more random the better, because we want it to look like just chipping happening all over the place. Something like a vehicle that's probably been sitting out probably on like a range for 20 or 30 years. Okay, jumping a little bit ahead here. We don't want this video to be 3 hours long. Just kind of showing you some more of the chipping areas that we're going to choose. More of the dot areas like that. And you can see we started to do some of the top as well. And then we're going to create a few areas where we have much larger chips going on. And what I've done for that is we've gone and added a little bit more NATO black into the mix to start. And that's going to create our bigger chip. And we want to make an area where there's been a lot of paint removed. And like in this area right here, you can see we've added a little bit of the NATO black in there, and we've really expanded some of the paint removal area, and on this edge over here as well, where we're going to make it like a lot of paint has been removed. And we have one other little process we're going to do. We're going to let this dry a little bit. Actually start pulling a little bit of that off. Okay, with the darker color now dry, we can use our foam again, and with the lighter color chipping color we can go over it and start to blend a little bit of this together, and even hitting some of these areas. These are going to create the really fine chips that are almost impossible to make with a brush, but it'll make it look like a piece that has really been beat up quite a bit. You can even go a little bit across there. You don't want to do too much, but we want to make it look like it's pretty worn and torn. Okay, now we want to create some dirt staining before we do any of the rust streaks on it. And for that I am using some Summer Kursk Earth that we are on a very fine brush, actually the same brush that we did the chipping with. I'm going to apply a little bit in some areas around some of these chips. And before it is given a chance to dry, blot it with a foam brush, and that'll take the majority of it off but still leave some staining there. So we're going to have some dark stains, especially like in that area down in there. And it's just a matter of going over all of these areas, not every area, just some areas, putting it on. Especially I like to put it inside any of these weld seams. And like I said, before it dries, blot the excess of it off there. And you get these nice little areas that'll have some staining on it as well. We also want to create some of those stains up on the top of the vehicle, and they will usually be a little bit more spread out because of the way, you know, the rain would hit it, things like that. So we'll blot it on in kind of like a random pattern like this, and then remove the excess. It's kind of blended in there just till we get some dark marks still remaining on there from dirt. And we also want to put a few little streaks coming down of grime. And we're going to be doing this. Another thing you guys can do too is, I started to do here, put a very heavy coat of that same Kursk thing right around the bottom edge right here. And using that same sponge, start blending it in. First pulling down and then kind of blotting up, and keep blending, and that'll create that dust effect, that dirty dust effect across the bottom that the bottom of the vehicle would have a little bit more of. Now we want to put a little bit of streaking grime. This is just basically going to be a darker form of what we just did. And we're using the Ammo by MIG one right here. And then taking a soft brush dipped in a little thinner, pulling it down on these edges here. And we will go ahead and do the top, let these dry completely, and then we'll move on to the rust portion. Now that we have a really dirty, scratched up vehicle, we're going to go ahead and put a little bit of rust on. And we're going to use a regular rust as well as a light rust. Starting off with the dark rust first, we're going to do a similar process that we did with the streaking grime. And we're going to start off with our regular rust, which is pretty dark. We're going to kind of lightly go over these bigger chips first. And we're more or less not going to be streaking as much on this as we are going to be like staining the area, as if it's, you know, seen a lot of water on it over the years, and it's gradually rusting through the paint and starting to stain the paint around it as well. Now we will put a few streaks up on the top there, and some areas like in through here that rust accumulates in these cracks. But you see we're using a very small brush and we're kind of blotting it on. And then if there's an area like this that we want to create a streak, this is just dipped in mineral spirits. And just pull those down. And you can see we start to get some more streaking done on that. And on this area, we can blot a little bit. That'll kind of blend out some of this rust color that we've got. And that is very true the way we do the top too. Let's say we want to create some rust up here. You want to just kind of blot it in an area, and then taking another brush, kind of like stipple it. And that'll give the area as if, you know, that rusty water has accumulated and it started to stain all the other areas around where the chips are. And see, so we're getting different types of dirt and grime and rust all kind of blending together, as it would be in nature too. If this has been sitting out in the elements for a long time, there's going to be layers of dirt, layers of rust, layers of grime, all that kind of stuff building up on it. That way we create more of a three-dimensional effect to it with the, you know, the actual weathering products. And once again, we're doing the same type of technique now with the lighter rust. I'm going to do a few different areas here. We're going to have a little bit of the lighter rust in the middle of the darker, and the lighter rust, of course, will be a fresher rust. Not going to go too heavy on that, but we do want to put some more of that reddish staining on here. And then we can just pull down to create those streaks. But the red, the lighter rust, always does make a nice effect on it because it's so stark against the dark yellow and the other colors. So that's why we don't want to go too heavy on it. Just enough to make it look like there is some areas that are still freshly rusting. So I am going to spend a little bit more time weathering these pieces up now that you've seen what I'm talking about here. And I'll come back in a few minutes after we've got that layer on and show you what it looks like. And here is what the completed chipping, rusting, weathering job will look like. The only other thing that I did off camera was after everything dried, we went ahead and sprayed it with one more coat of dull coat. And what that'll do right there is that'll even out anything, and it will take away some of the glossiness that sometimes the enamel thinner will have on it. So it's very, very simple process, and it's totally up to you guys how you want to do it. If you want to do it really heavy like this or lighter, but it can really add a lot of nice effects to your model kits, and especially if you're going to be doing dioramas or anything that has you wanting a vehicle really weathered, this is the way to go. So I want to thank you guys as always for watching, and please stay tuned because we have many more videos coming.